Welcome to the Paula Fiscal Show. This show airs on Sundays at 3 o'clock p.m. And for today, we have one of our regular guests, Francisco Herrera, who is a musician and educator in District 11. This is part of our finance series, so we will be talking a little bit about how much it costs to run for office, what the expenditures are, what are some of the city financing rules and regulations about who can donate, and we're also going to be listening to Francisco tell us about his livability platform. So welcome to the show, Francisco.
Thank you. Oh, oh, oh. Pueblo, pueblo. People, my people, sing your song. Ah, ah, ah. Canta tu canción. Livability is coming along. When we organize, make the call to City Hall. Supervisor who's in charge to listen, represent. Oh, oh, oh. Pueblo, pueblo, sing your song. Yeah, ha, ah, ah, ah. Canta tu canción. Sigues cruzando las fronteras y los valles.
Thank you so much, Francisco. So tell us a bit about what's going on in your campaign, and we also want to hear about the finance regulations and how people get involved in a campaign. You want to start out with that?
Well, thanks very much. Happy to be with you again, Paula, and all our TV audience. And congratulations on your show for all these weeks, 52 a year.
Thank you. I just celebrated over a year. I've been doing this for a year now.
Congratulations. Well, that's the beauty of local TV, is that we can really get involved. And that's the goal of our campaign with Livability, that we get involved to make a change. You were asking about how we're doing. We're doing very well. People very excited coming up from the different neighborhoods in District 11, as you know. And I'll tell a little bit about a couple of meetings I've had and what we're looking at. But you were asking about finance and what...
Yes, because when you're running a campaign, it's like running a short-time business. It's like an advertising campaign. It's a messaging campaign. You're spending money on staff, on office, on signs, and there's also a match from the city.
Yeah, and when you're running a people's campaign, as in this case, you have a lot of volunteers, but a lot of volunteers also means money for food, help people to make the transportation.
Wait a minute, you mean you have to feed them?
Yeah. There's always an exchange, you know?
That's true.
As I learned in Economics 101, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. So, and there ain't no such thing as a free market in that case, unless you have all the participants on the table. Then you do have the famous invisible hand when everybody participates.
So when you recruit a volunteer, do you actually sit down and interview the volunteer?
It's been interesting. In many cases, yes. Well, in most cases, there is a level of interview screening, and particularly because it's important for me, it's important that the volunteer be doing something they really like to do. I mean, there are menial things that you have to do sometimes, like stuffing envelopes and stuff like that. But many times people have their own creativity, and you're always playing that balance between having people do what really engages them and other things that just need to get done. But and so the financing really helps in all those areas. And the reason I was talking about the invisible hand and participation is because the city has a really good program, actually, where to enhance transparency, there's a limit on who can give and how much you can give. But there's also a very positive side, which is the matching fund that you talked about. See, if you raise up to $30,000 from small donations, and small donations means from $1 to or 50 cents to $99 or to $100. And the difference is if people are giving cash, then it's up to $99 that they can give. If you're gonna give 100, you have to write a check, and it's very interesting because you can have an event and put the canister there, and people give 5, 10, 20. If under 25, you don't have to report it, but it's still good for you to have. I gave $5 because you're recording the person that gave, and you have a clear accounting of how the money came. But from $25 on up, you have to actually report name, employer, and where people, because you have to be a resident.
And it can only be an individual person.
It can only be an individual person. Let's say you have a restaurant owner. That restaurant owner can give you up to $500 as an individual. And if she is a sole owner, then she could do it, not as a partnership, but she can do it as the owner of the restaurant. And
but can the other partner also say there's two partners?
Yeah.
So each partner can give $500.
Each partner can give $500. But for the matching fund, and you can use those $500, no problem. For the matching fund, only 100 of that will apply. So basically.
So how do you do that for paperwork to turn into the city?
Oh yeah, well there's the documents you have to fill out, and there's a form that we have where you actually, with the check, you fill out the name, the employer, because you could easily, some corporation could easily give all their employees $500, right? And they're all supposedly individually, but then you realize they're all working for the same company, and so
that's right.
Yeah, so there's a limit on that, but the way that it applies, you put your name, your employer or self-employed, whatever it is, and then and if you reside in San Francisco, if you're an individual, you can give up to $100 will be matched. So to make it real simple, 500 people at $100 is $50,000. If you raise $50,000 within the period allotted, which I think this year for the November election is up to, I think it's June 9th, I believe. I'm not, but it's early June. And if you raise the funds, the $50,000, the city will match you $100,000, and there's actually an extra.
You mean you raise $50,000 and the city will give you $50,000?
Yeah, no, we'll give you $100,000
for the $50,000 that you raise. They will
double
it, and give you $100,000. So it's 2 to 1.
Yeah, if you raise 30, they'll give you 1 to 1. But if you
you want to raise the $50,000.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an important
because the 2 to 1 is just phenomenal, and if you only raise 30,000, you get 1 to 1.
Yeah, it's a very important.
Now,
support.
Can you loan yourself the money?
As an individual, as a candidate, you can put in money, but for the matching fund, it's got to be individuals that give up to $100, and that's what makes the matching fund, and that's why the paperwork needs to be very clear.
So you want then every single relative you know and every single friend to write you a $100 check.
Yeah. And well, $100 check, or the other way you could do it too is $10, $50, 20 installments. You can also do installments. You could do it any way, but so for example.
But for the matching funds, there's a deadline time.
There's a deadline.
You have to have that money all in your treasury before you say the June date?
Yeah. And it's got to be well documented. Well, actually, I just realized I made a mistake. The June date has to do with the funding that you have to put, the fee that you have to pay for.
That's right.
The signatures.
Let's go back a few steps then. We're talking about how much money it costs to run for office. So the first expense that you run into is the filing fee. Yeah. And how much is that?
Which is a $500 filing fee, or in this case, 1,000 signatures, of which each costs 50 cents. So you can match the filing fee and not raise the 500 and get 1,000 people to sign the sheet that says I support Francisco Herrera to run for supervisor. Each signature costs 50 cents.
Who do you pay the 50 cents to?
No. Each signature is worth 50 cents.
Okay. So each signature is worth 50 cents towards the match?
Towards the filing fee.
Towards just the filing fee.
Just the filing
That's
fee.
it.
So most people just pay the filing fee, but there's a wonderful challenge with the signatures is that you involve people that will be participating. Now you cannot get that list of signatures and make your little copy of supporters. You can't do that. You gotta they just
and
sign.
Each one of these signatures have to be registered voters.
Registered voters.
Let's not forget that.
Yeah, they have to be registered
and
voters.
And they do check.
Oh yeah, they do check. And as a matter of fact, there's always human error. So you have to calculate you're going to raise more.
If you're registered as John J. Smith and you sign your name as J.J. Smith, your vote doesn't count.
Right. So it's got to be very clear of how you sign saying you support the candidate. And so many times what people do is overestimate. So if you need 1,000, you want to try to raise 1,200 because there's always going to be a mistake. And they really do check at the Department of Elections. And they've done actually a very good job. I've been very happy working with those guys.
And when is the filing deadline?
That's the one that I believe is June 9th. It's early June. It's early June.
Early June. Okay, so that's the deadline.
And that
so
guarantees
by June, you're going to know who all's running in any of the districts.
Right. Well, there's always people who want to do write-in candidates.
Well, the write-in candidates, we're not going to talk about here.
No, but in general, that's when you do the filing fee, and when you do the filing, that's what guarantees your name is on the ballot.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then your name also cannot be an also known as. It's got to be your legitimate name. So if everybody knows you as Frank, and you're running as Francisco, can you put Francisco and then parentheses Frank?
You can, but they prefer that you really stick to the name, the name and last name.
The name and last name.
Yeah.
So that every time you print something for your campaign, you need to make sure it's exactly as people are going to see it on the ballot.
Yeah, that's correct.
On the ballot.
You could in the material you could put F. Herrera or Francisco bigger Herrera, smaller Francisco, or bigger Francisco, smaller Herrera, but you have to put Francisco Herrera, and you definitely have to put Herrera, the last name, is what you really have to put. Your last name.
Exactly. And then for your occupation, what do you get to put?
Well, what I've been doing most of my life, which is I'm a musician and educator. I always have to put musician and educator, Paula, because with as much as I love the music at the nightclubs and at the restaurants and at the shows and concerts, what I've done with music pretty much all my life has been music in community, small community events, organizing events, political events, labor, picket lines, rallies, churches, funerals. It's all the music that I've done has always been in workshops, in that space where it's not so much of a performance, although I am a performer, but it's using music to really bring out the deeper part of people, our deeper part. Music has a very profound ability to help you go deeper into who you are, what you think, what you feel, more than anything, no? Well, that's why they use music for commercials, right?
That's right. They use music for commercials. Every movie is not a movie without the music. Music is always in the background. And if you try watching a movie without the sound, it's very boring.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's all about the sounds, all about the music.
And
Let's talk in detail a little bit more about how much money you need to raise to run for office.
Yeah, so as you know, we raised between $6,000 and $7,000 for the walk for mayor in San Francisco. And
that was 68 cents per vote.
that's pretty much at the end we had
That was
55,000 votes.
That was a very, very good return on your investment.
Very good return. And but it really, this year we are moving much more in engaging people, engaging the community. I think it works perfectly well to raise the 50,000 and get the extra 105,000. There's a little 5,000 that the city gives, and it's a little detail, but so
that's a bonus. They have a $5,000 bonus if you raise the 50,000.
Yeah,
if you raise the 50,000.
Yeah, that's more than enough to run a campaign, and that's the beauty of really working on election systems, to try to make them transparent, to make them popular, where people can really participate. Because your real engagement, I mean, the money's going to go, like you said, to pay staff, to pay material is very important.
The signs are very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
The door hangers. And the media, the CDs. You have to pay for the CDs. You don't get anything for free.
The media is expensive. But really the core is the face-to-face. It really is the platform which financing is a very important piece. But the platform, in our case, livability is what we're looking at.
So the livability is your platform and your 10-step program. I think I heard early in the campaign that you had a particular program. And so because we're doing this as a finance show, what was the cost, from your recollection, on what you actually donated when you ran for mayor? How much did you spend on gas that was not reimbursed, food that was not reimbursed?
No, definitely. Sweat equity.
Sweat equity that was not reimbursed. So how do you keep track of this?
Well, the communication has to be very clear, where people are really clear about the time they've put in. And I think in your team, you have to be really clear that you're respecting volunteers' time and that you're recognizing it, because it really is a burnout. No matter, even if you get paid or not paid, it's a burnout. You really have to engage the community. You really have to walk the sidewalks, knock on the doors, talk to people, go to morning meetings, evening meetings. But
you want this. You're enthusiastic. You're happy to knock on the doors. So how many doors do you knock on every day, Francisco?
Wow, you have to do your little teams of... There's moments that you can actually get groups in the morning. Not so much the knocking doors in the morning, but you can, because of shifts of work and there are people who you can visit at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, especially groups. There's definitely lunch times that you visit groups and folks that are meeting with you. There's definitely morning groups, like I said, breakfast groups. And then, of course, there's the evenings and the weekends when you really have people out there in the parks, in the neighborhoods, in the door knocking.
Exactly. And how about if somebody has a restaurant or they want to donate food, can they only donate up to $500 worth?
Again, the in-kind donation comes back to $500. That's as much as they can donate. So they can, let's say they have one event. Okay, I donated this much for this event. It equals to 100. And then the next one is 80. The next one is 120. You end up donating for 4 events, maybe, right? So where you document the in-kind of what was donated, and you can actually join campaigns too. As long as each campaign is clear of what they donated, how much. Like I paid my campaign prop, whatever, paid for the music, and then my campaign for supervisor paid for the food. And if that is clear, that can actually work. And in the case of ranked choice voting, when you form an alliance, you can actually do 2 soups that are saying, well, we're looking for the 1-2 vote. But again, in terms of financing, you have to be spot clean and clear of who donated how much and whose money went from what pocket to pay for what product or service.
Exactly. So that when your volunteers come and they donate their time, you don't track time though.
You can track time, but it doesn't.
There's no value put on time.
Yeah, I know, and it's really a lot. what you can do in terms of money, like you have a can, like I said, you can have a sheet where people actually say, I gave $5. Many times people don't want to do that. They just put in the $5. But you go to the bank and you say, well, I've got these names of people who donate. And you, as long as you're as clear as possible who gave what, you are in a good space. But if it's more than 25 and on, it's you definitely have to have the person's name.
So say somebody wanted to donate printing. Again, it can only be $500 worth.
Yeah. In terms of accounting, well, we found out that it's better if someone wants to donate printing. In fact, accounting-wise, it's easier for them to say, the printing is going to cost this much. Here's the money to the campaign to pay for the printing. But you can do the in-kind. It's just a different it's kind of a different form of documenting.
Right. So if you get a lot of in-kind donations, you still document them. You still turn them into the reporting to the state and to the city. Yeah. And you still have your, but there's a value placed on that, right?
Yeah, there is. For the since we had such little money in the campaign for mayor, what we did is we just asked people to donate. I want to do this in kind. Well, then just donate. And most people just donated the money to pay for the posters and that kind of stuff because it was too hard to try to do both, and we were all stretched really thin.
So the paperwork is a burden.
It is, yeah. That's a time-consuming exercise, Simon.
So do you have a treasurer that you have to pay and a CPA that you have to pay?
No, at this point we have volunteers that are helping with this, and it's time consumption.
Well, isn't that you have to electronically file? You can't.
Yes.
You have to have somebody computer literate then.
Yeah, we do. We did it all that way, and we're doing it all that way through electronic filing now. Yeah. It's actually very helpful, and the folks at Ethics are really good, very tight, very clear. You call the number, and what is it now? 252-3100. You can. He's
memorized. He's memorized the number.
Well, you know what?
Okay.
It actually, but this is a very important point because it really, if you do it the right way, it becomes a real community building exercise. One, because you have a question. And you don't fool around with it. You call 252-3100, and you say, I have this question.
You avoid any errors that you may make in documenting donations. So say when you're around putting up signs and a carpenter wants to donate 500 pieces of wood.
Correct. Yeah. Well, you say they donated 500 pieces of wood. It would have cost this.
Do we have to get the receipt from Sierra? Or Golden Gate Builders?
That's right. That's right. So, no, you have to get the receipt.
Because those pieces of wood come in bundles, you know.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, no, right. If they went to the store, yeah, you get the receipt. You make a copy of the receipt, and then you keep it as a document.
And that goes the same thing for sandwiches.
Yeah. Well, no, if they made the sandwiches and you're...
Well, say they bought sandwiches.
Oh, if they bought them, yeah, you get the receipt.
And you just turn in the receipt of all the sandwiches you bought at those big sandwiches they sell at Safeway or something. You donate 6 of those.
Yeah, you document it.
And then you document it.
And that's the time-consuming piece. That documenting is really a time-consuming piece. So
you have a whole team of people doing this part.
Yeah, no, it's a very good community builder. It's a great. This is where the word "run" really does fit in. It's a great run because you sweat a lot. You meet folks. You engage folks. And
also the ranked choice voting, which we are going to have a whole show on nothing but ranked choice voting, perhaps next month.
Yeah.
To discuss how it really works and what it's all about.
I think that is a key piece because, it was adopted as a way to eliminate the cost of runoff. That's why we actually used to call it instant runoff.
That's right.
But what we've seen is that it really is a benefit to the voter, to the electorate, because you can actually create a sense of choice. I want this candidate number 1, but this platform of this other candidate could work, and so I'll put them number 2. And it gives the electorate more power to be able to say, to make the candidate responsible to also. That's another piece is, you could do that in terms of the candidacy, or the candidates. It really, for the mayor, it worked beautifully. I've seen it work very well in Oakland, and I think it can work very well here in San Francisco as well, in terms of saying, our platforms are pretty similar. Vote for me, number one. Vote for candidate number two. For example, I would say Kimberly number two. That kind of issue, and where she might say, vote for Kimberly number one, put number two for Francisco, or that kind of a thing. It's an important piece to be able to push the issues, because that way you're not just putting a little ¿cómo se dice? The charismatic figure, but the actual issues.
Well, speaking of charismatic figures, we've reached the conclusion of our show with Francisco Herrera, candidate for District 11, musician, educator. And since this is part of our finance series, we talked quite a bit about what it costs to run for office and how there is a good match available from the city. And we want you to stay informed. So by all means, make sure you watch our show on Sundays at 3 o'clock p.m. and like us on Facebook. If you need more information or if you prefer to tweet, it's Paula Fiscal TV. So once again, thank you for watching and stay informed.
Pueblo, pueblo.